The story opens in Hawaii. A man anxiously scans his surroundings before carefully walking up to a mailbox to post an envelope. Just as he steps onto the street, a blue van suddenly crashes into him. The scene cuts to a Marine officer named James who is training his cadets underwater, pushing them to hold their breath as long as possible. One by one, every cadet gives up and resurfaces. Furious with their lack of discipline, James scolds them. At that moment, he receives a call from the police. James is taken to identify the victim. The authorities inform him that the man was killed in what they believe to be a hit and run. James returns home and begins preparing dinner. Casually, he tells his wife that Walter finally managed to get himself killed. It is then revealed that Walter was James's father. His wife asks if he at least called his brother in Oklahoma, but James replies that his brother never answers his calls. The story shifts to James's brother Johnny, a detective living in Oklahoma. His girlfriend Valentina is packing her belongings and preparing to leave. Johnny asks what's wrong and tries to talk to her, but Valentina snaps back. She's had enough. Johnny apologizes, but she asks if he even knows what day it is. It's her birthday, and he completely forgot. Despite his apologies, Valentina refuses to stay and walks out on him. Shortly after, Johnny receives a call from James's wife, Illa, who informs him that their father has passed away. The funeral is tomorrow and she hopes he'll attend. Johnny responds coldly, saying he hasn't spoken to James in 10 years and hasn't been to Hawaii in 20. He says he's fine staying away. While still in his bathroom, two men suddenly appear behind Johnny, pressing a knife against his throat. They demand to know where the package is, the one Walter supposedly sent him. Johnny explains that he hasn't spoken to Walter since he was a child and has no idea what they're talking about. One of the men opens his shirt, revealing a dragon tattoo on his chest, a clear sign that he's Yakuza. A fight immediately breaks out. Johnny takes on both men at once and beats them down. Another attacker bursts in with a gun, but Johnny handles him as well. He casually sips his beer while dismantling them one by one. But when one of the men accidentally knocks over his mother's shrine, something inside Johnny snaps. He grabs the man's hand and grinds it against a cheese grater. He finishes off the others just as brutally. Johnny later looks at an old photograph of his mother. His father's face has been cut out. Back in Hawaii, Walter's funeral is underway. Members of the Yakuza and Mr. K's syndicate are also present. Walter had been a private investigator with deep connections to both groups. James's cousin Nanny asks whether Johnny will attend. James says no, but moments later Johnny appears. The brothers immediately exchange sharp remarks, arguing quietly until the priest demands silence. The governor, Peter, a close family friend, gives a short speech honoring Walter. Following Hawaiian tradition, Walter is laid to rest. After the funeral, everyone gathers at James's house, the home that once belonged to their mother. Johnny remarks that James never liked him, even when they were kids. James responds by accusing Walter of abandoning his family for Johnny's mother, breaking his home while he was still a child. Despite everything, the tension between the brothers remains unchanged. During lunch, Johnny reveals that he didn't come for Walter. He came to find out who killed him. He tells James that Yakuza members attacked him the night before and tried to kill him. James becomes furious, accusing Johnny of bringing danger wherever he goes. Johnny insists he isn't asking for help. James reminds him that Johnny never helped when their mother died. James asks Johnny to step outside. He points out that Johnny hadn't seen Walter in 20 years and now suddenly claims someone murdered him. Johnny's just stirring up trouble again. Johnny asks James to trust him just once. But James fires back, saying Johnny couldn't even find his own mother's killer. Furious, Johnny storms off. Johnny heads to a bar. A man approaches him and mocks him for returning to Hawaii, saying Mr. K wants to see him. Johnny refuses, but the bartender slips something into his drink. Johnny blacks out. He wakes up seated in front of Mr. K. Mr. K reminds him that the syndicate never forgets and that Johnny hurt many of his men. Johnny accuses Mr. K of killing his mother. Mr. K responds ambiguously, neither confirming nor denying it. He orders Johnny to leave Hawaii immediately, warning him that his presence will only bring trouble. Johnny insists that Hawaii is his home. Mr. K replies that it isn't anymore. He marks Johnny's neck with his symbol and gives him a final warning. 7 days. After that, he won't be allowed to leave alive. Johnny wakes up on a beach. At the same time, James meets with a detective named Renard. James asks to see his father's police report, but Renard tells him there's nothing useful in it. In the neighborhood where Walter was killed, no one talks to the police. There was a traffic camera at the scene, but it wasn't working. Renard warns James that now both of Walter's sons are digging into his death, and that they're likely to provoke something dangerous. James replies calmly, "I am the bear." James later collects Walter's personal belongings from the police station. Among them, he finds a small slip of paper with several words written on it. Johnny arrives at Walter's house and hears someone moving inside. A young man is searching through the place. The moment he notices Johnny, he tries to run. Johnny chases him down and catches him. The man introduces himself as Pika. He explains that he used to work for Walter, handling tasks like hacking, tapping emails, and monitoring phone calls. Johnny asks what the last job Walter gave him was. Pika says Walter told him to get a job at a catering company, but he never explained why. Johnny tells Pika that from now on he works for him. Meanwhile, James notices that there's a bar with a security camera positioned near the location where Walter was killed. He goes inside and asks to see the CCTV footage. The staff refuses. James offers money, but they still say no. James then calmly says the cash is for the damage. Back at Walter's apartment, Johnny discovers a blueprint hidden inside a surfboard. The scene shifts to a political rally for Governor Peter. Nanny is working there as his assistant. Johnny calls her and tells her he found some plans or a survey marked with a government seal, but he doesn't know what it means. Nanny says she can access the database once she's back at the office. She just needs the 8-digit number written on the plan. At that moment, someone breaks into the apartment. It's James. Johnny asks what he's doing there. James replies, "Same thing you are." He shows Johnny the CCTV footage he obtained. The blue van has no license plate, and it's clear that Walter's death was not an accident. It was intentional. Johnny asks Pika to get a list of past and upcoming events connected to the catering company. The two brothers get into a car, still arguing, and drive off. Suddenly, another vehicle crashes into them. A man inside the other car fires a gun into the air. James shoots him. Johnny jumps out and returns fire from outside the vehicle. James climbs onto the roof of his car and leaps onto the attacker's vehicle. Johnny yells at him to jump off. James detonates the attacker's car. Johnny calls 911 to report the incident. James explodes in anger, shouting that Johnny blew up his car. Johnny fires back, saying he saved James's life. Renard later tells them that the men they killed were 4 Yakuza hitmen. He also reveals that Johnny isn't officially a cop anymore. He's currently suspended. James hands Renard the CCTV footage. Renard gives them a final warning. This kind of chaos better not happen on his island again, or he won't go easy on them next time. Later, Nanny updates both brothers on what she discovered. The plans were for a property on the east side of the island. They were commissioned by the Robichaud firm. Marcus Robichaud is a major real estate developer, and Walter may have been working for him. James explains that Robichaud is building a casino. There's even a casino marking on the back of the blueprint, which makes no sense because gambling is illegal on the island. The next day, the brothers travel to the property. A Hawaiian community is living there. James asks who owns the land. The people explain that the land belongs to all of them, and that everyone is welcome. A woman tells them they are living there to protect what is theirs and to defend the land from being taken. That's why they are standing guard. Johnny then receives a call from Pika. The police found a blue van on the beach. The driver was a low-level accountant working in the governor's office. Someone dumped both the van and the driver into the water to destroy the evidence. Johnny checked the list of all blue vans on the island and tells Pika to investigate Hayashi Imports, the only Japanese name on the list. The scene shifts to an event at Robichaud's house. Pika is already there, disguised as a waiter. Shortly after, Johnny and James arrive as waiters as well. Pika warns them to stay apart, saying that together they look like the Rock's twin sons. Johnny follows a woman through the crowd and starts flirting with her. He soon learns that she knew Walter and had no idea he was dead. She reveals that she hired Walter to investigate her husband's activities. Her husband turns out to be Marcus Robichaud. Meanwhile, James runs into a Japanese man whose business card reads Hayashi Imports. James tells him he knows they misplaced a blue van. At the same time, Monica reveals that she is getting a divorce, and without leverage, things won't go well for her. That means Marcus won't let her walk away alive. Monica says it's not safe to talk here and tells Johnny to come see her tomorrow. Back with James, the Japanese man says the frog never looks both ways when crossing the street. He's talking about Walter. Just then, the man's phone starts ringing. Marcus's men approach both Johnny and James and escort them to Marcus. They introduce themselves as Walter's sons. Marcus says he paid Walter in full and even gave him a bonus. Johnny asks, "You hired Walter?" Marcus explains that he suspected his wife was cheating on him, so he hired Walter to tail her. As they talk, Johnny casually toys with a grenade sitting on the table. James notices a disturbing detail, a set of severed fingers lying nearby. The tension is thick. Johnny and James eventually leave the place. Marcus picks up a photo of his wife and mutters, "Now what have you done?" A short while later, Johnny learns that Marcus's wife has fallen from a building. She's dead. Furious, Johnny storms straight to Marcus's house and starts fighting his guards, but the guards quickly overpower him. They tase him and slam him to the ground. Johnny accuses Marcus of killing both his wife and his father. Marcus calmly orders his men to call the police. Johnny is arrested. Governor Peter arrives and explains that Marcus has dropped the charges at his request. Peter tells Johnny that Walter had a darkness inside him, a darkness that destroyed everything good in his life, and that same darkness lives in Johnny and James. But unlike Walter, they have something he never had, a brother. The moment Johnny is released, James confronts him. He tells Johnny he can't keep acting this way, that none of this will bring their mother back. Johnny swings at James. At first, James blocks the punches, but when Johnny won't stop, James fights back. The brothers clash like enemies. James beats Johnny down hard and demands to know what's wrong with him. Johnny fires back, asking what kind of man abandons his little brother when he needs him most. James explains that Johnny was headed for prison and the syndicate was going to kill him. Sending him away was the only way to protect him. Johnny says that after their mother died, James was all he had left. In the heat of the fight, years of buried emotions spill out. James apologizes, he admits he failed as a big brother and says if he could, he would change everything. James asks why Johnny is chasing this so relentlessly. Walter wasn't any kind of father to him. Johnny responds that he never found the man who killed their mother, and now someone has killed their father too. From that moment on, the brothers agree to hunt their father's killer together. Before they can move forward, James's wife confronts them, demanding to know what's really going on. That's when Johnny gets a call from Valentina. She went back to his place to collect her things and found a package that arrived from Hawaii. Inside is a thumb drive. Johnny tells her to bring it and fly to Hawaii. Valentina refuses at first, but Johnny convinces her. Johnny, Pika, and James pick Valentina up at the airport. Johnny takes the drive. They discover it's the key to a cold wallet. To open it, they need a seed phrase, 12 random words known only to the account holder. James pulls out a slip of paper from Walter's belongings. The 12 words are written on it. Suddenly, gunfire rains down on them from a helicopter. They scramble to escape as bullets tear through the road. Valentina takes the wheel. The helicopter opens fire without regard for the other cars. Armed ninja bikers join the chase. Their vehicle drifts, spins, and flips. Valentina is forced to drive in reverse. She slams the brakes, sending two bikers crashing into the car. One ends up inside the vehicle and James fights him off. Johnny takes on another biker. Valentina regains control and scrapes one biker off against the road barrier. James throws the remaining biker out of the van, but the helicopter is still attacking. Johnny fires blindly into the sky while James takes his time and aims carefully. The helicopter spins out of control and crashes, heading straight toward them. Everyone barely escapes alive. Pika finally accesses the cold wallet. Valentina studies the data and reveals the truth. International wire transfers totaling $12 million moved through offshore accounts into a single account belonging to Governor Peter. Johnny and James are stunned. Everything suddenly makes sense. Marcus needs Hawaiian homelands to build his casino resort. To legalize gambling, he buys the governor for $12 million. Walter must have discovered this while tailing Marcus. Meanwhile, Nanny shows Peter the plans Marcus had drawn up. Peter promises that he won't let this happen. Back at the house, Johnny and James arrive home. James calls his wife, but her phone vibrates inside the house. Panic sets in. He searches for his children and finds them hiding in the bathroom, shaking with fear. His son tells him they took her. James pulls his kids into his arms. Moments later, Marcus sends a video. Nanny and James's wife are both in his custody. Marcus makes his demand clear. Hand over the thumb drive, or they die. Johnny and James load their guns into a bag and head straight for Marcus's house. They storm the place, moving fast and silent, taking down guards as they push their way inside. One by one, the guards are eliminated without raising the alarm. When a car alarm suddenly goes off and more guards move toward it, they're picked off from a distance. Johnny and James leave a trail of bodies behind them. Inside the house, Marcus notices his outside guards aren't responding over the walkie-talkie. The lights begin to flicker. He sends men to check the power. One of them discovers the pool filled with dead bodies. Johnny appears behind him and takes him out. Marcus orders Nakamura and his Yakuza members to deal with Johnny and James. James charges straight at the Yakuza, taking them on all at once. He drops them one by one. He starts beating one of them with a hammer until Johnny steps in and stops him, telling him the man is already dead. Johnny and James free Nanny and Ila. Ila tells James to go. She says they'll escape on their own and wants him to back up Johnny. Nakamura opens fire on James. The two clash violently. At the same time, Johnny cuts off Marcus before he can escape. Marcus mocks him, saying killing him won't be as easy as killing his father. They begin to brawl. James brutally shatters Nakamura's bones and finishes him off, but Marcus gains the upper hand on Johnny. He taunts him, asking if he really thought he could stop him. He calls Johnny a mosquito. He says that within a year, his casino will be built, and no one will be able to stop him. Johnny, James, and their father will have died for nothing. That's when Johnny holds up the pin from Marcus's own grenade. The grenade explodes. James dives into the water and pulls his brother to the surface. Johnny survives. Governor Peter is arrested. And that's where this story comes to an end. Let us know what you thought of this explanation in the comments, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe.